Welcome to this episode 512 of the Kodesnack podcast. I'm Fredrik as usual, and this episode was recorded at the Öredev Developer Conference in 2022. It feels like a long time ago, but it was actually just a few months. And in this episode, I chat with Denis, aka Pixels Commander, about a whole array of interesting things. And we actually got into the spirit of Kodesnack and started talking about everything and anything so quickly that we didn't really get to do a proper introduction, hence this little piece. Öredev was great as usual. I really hope you enjoy the chat as much as I did. And of course, all the relevant links and probably a few more are in the show notes. Enjoy.
Yeah, I think the challenge for this conference is that interviews are very different topics. And, it's a lot of people. I was amazed. Like 2 buses yesterday and a speakers dinner.
Oh yeah,
it's crazy.
The good thing is that they do such a good job selecting speakers. So I'm not that worried about picking the wrong person or something. It's and I try to pick some people out of my skill set as well. So because people always have interesting stuff.
And what's your area of expertise?
At work, I mostly do web front end.
Okay.
Really, or a bit of back end. Full stack, I guess.
Yeah.
but I mostly work in the front end, so that's where I
nice.
know the most. But
React or?
Yeah, mainly React.
React, yeah.
Yeah, we've been doing it for a while now, so I guess it's time to...
Yeah, me too. I started, I think React was still in beta. It's 2013.
Oh, you were earlier than us.
I was probably one of the first React developers in Netherlands.
Yeah.
We started 2013. We started to build some prototypes, and then 2014 we already were building operation system with React.
Wow!
It was a lot of fun. It was like 4 years. There's like 100 people from different countries. It's the biggest world biggest internet provider. Was building an operation system for a set of boxes like this. Your entertainment box, which connects you to internet, TV, and it normally couples to TV. Yeah. And then you have some interface. So we were building this interface with React. An amazingly shitty hardware.
Okay.
Absolutely. It was comparable to iPhone 1 in performance. And then, instead of buying better hardware, the decision was let's hire more people and optimize performance and make everything very nicely.
That's unexpected.
And of course, it was a big investment in the people and the trust to people. Well, to be honest, it was super hard.
Yeah,
and,
I bet.
I think that people just overestimated how different the resource consumption of JavaScript is from the resource consumption of C++ or something. And then by the end, they bought a different hardware.
Okay.
It's quite logical. I mean, this could be done straight away, but the problem would be that someone would probably get punished from the management because he already bought chips and.
But I think it's really interesting to hear that someone making that decision to let's try and improve the performance instead of, it's always the reflex, buy more power and sort of push the problem forward.
Yeah, because you need to buy 4 million of devices that are already bought. And,
it's a special case. but still. So you jumped on React really, really early. Because I think we started in the end of 2014. I mean, we were pretty early for Sweden anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Like nowadays, I interview people, and it's like 2 years of React. People are starting telling that they're senior.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
let me tell you a story.
Exactly. The job market is crazy now. Especially so many React developers in the world right now. They're just wondering when they're going to be replaced with artificial intelligence as artists. The artists are really having hard times.
It's a really weird time right now.
Yes, exactly. It was like very on-demand job for many years, hundreds of years. and now it's gone. It's like the same kind of revolution. It's not gone yet, of course, but we can extrapolate and see how the machine learning and artificial intelligence is changing the environment. My friend is working as an art director, not a designer or illustrator. So this saves. He says we switched from illustrators to basically they making part of their job is making a lot of banners, and they just generating backgrounds for banners with artificial intelligence instead of hiring hundreds of
people to do
people to make a drone. That's interesting time. And,
I guess people will be able to use like generated artwork for so many more things now. But it's sad to think that people might be losing out on work as well.
Yeah, we organize React conferences in Amsterdam and then in London. And normally we've been doing hand-drawn avatars for speakers.
Oh, cool.
And it's cool, but it's so painful because you find artists, you really have to work like many months with artists. And then you post it online. Yeah, people are excited for 5 minutes. But you spend 5,000 euros. And then like now we're thinking, should we just lower everyone's expectations and then just use artificial intelligence for that and not trying to make something to raise excitement out of it, but just use it as a detail for a conference setting, as a detail for a theme. Like if you have a cyberpunk theme, like a generate cyberpunk avatars, or Alice in Wonderland, you can generate all speaker avatars for like they have a relation to that. So that's a cool stuff, and surprisingly, it's connected to the topic I'm going to speak about.
Oh, really?
I think So. Sure, if it's fine to spoil during this interview, it's going to be published after the conference.
Yeah, this will be published later. So we'll of course be linking to the video as well, so people can watch it, and so you can choose yourself if you want to spoil the content or not. It's totally up to you.
I think it's not a secret. I was already publishing an article on that. One of the biggest advantages of Webgpu and what it brings is all this. Expensive calculations you normally have been doing on, sick clients, native clients. Now you can do on in browser. In Webgl, it was kind of possible, but the performance and scalability was not there. So the degree of efficiency was significantly lower than if you do this with a C++ or something. And this was the number one reason why the Webgl, why Webgpu is better.
Okay, is it more low level, more or less, or
it's just very different. It's different like if you think of what's happening every frame, then Webgl makes a lot of calls like push this to buffer and then. Switch this variable, like every frame, switch multiple variables, multiple settings, setting state to a right, setting the right state, and Webgpu you define everything in advance. So every frame you're just saying, hey, let's use this pipeline, and the comparison of two frames. Webgl and Webgpu is like Webgl is 60 lines of JavaScript being executed every frame, and Webgpu is like 10 lines. So it is significantly less things happening every frame when you draw, but also, as I said, the computational shaders for Webgpu is something totally new. So in the Webgl, what you've been doing, if you, for example, let's get back to this. Artificial intelligence, and you're training a neural network or trying to use a neural network, so you need to leverage GPU for computations, and normally it's not that much you do. Okay, so the way you've been doing this in Webgl was very weird. Webgl doesn't allow to read from buffer directly. The only way you can do calculation and then read the value, the outcome is you put it on the screen. So you can imagine how inefficient it is. So you put something, you do calculation, you put something on a as big canvas as you can, and then you read pixel by pixel, then you convert it to data, and of course there are multiple problems with this approach. So there is a limit of how big can be your canvas, and then you read it with, Canvas API. You read it with Canvas API. So this is
not the right use case.
No, this is not a bleeding edge technology of doing machine learning with Canvas API, reading every pixel with get pixel data, and then iterating in JavaScript through the.
It's a horrible hack.
It's a horrible hack, and the measurements I was doing is just a completely different magnitude of performance. So what I think is going to happen with Webgpu, and the biggest influence on the web platform is that different computational algorithms are going to be possible on the web. For example, video editing in a real time in browser, because now we see there are many startups doing that, but they're mostly doing this on the server side. You do some WYSIWYG and then you basically download the outcome to your computer, but it's going to move to client side. So nowadays, not that much holds us from making After Effects or Premiere in browser.
That's a big step.
Yeah, why not? Why not? As I've seen all these new editors that are made by a single person that replace Adobe Photoshop, and now probably this kind of things are going to happen to Adobe After Effects.
Wow.
Why not?
So it's a lot more general purpose GPU usage by the standard.
Yes, exactly. And also, machine learning can be moved to a sync client. You can just download the model, download the code that executes it. So, this is the biggest advantage the Webgpu brings. Of course, it will enrich the graphics. And the most important for me personally, it will make the graphics much more smoother. Webgl now, even at around 60 frames per second, you probably seen it many times. Everything is kind of cool, and it even feels that it's fast, but it's never very smooth. It's never a bit janky compared to the native game or application. And the reason for that WebGL is now suboptimal. So there are so many levels of abstraction because it's designed to talk to OpenGL. No platforms now support OpenGL except Linux, and now you need to port each command. So you remember we've been speaking about 60 commands every frame, and then each of the 60 commands there is an intermediate transparent layer of compatibility that actually converts. So you have on your Mac, you have Metal, right? And then you need to convert each of the 60 commands to Metal to interpret it on the fly, 60 frames per second. Also, it is not very good with the recompiling shaders. So the whole smoothness was never reachable. I would say it was never designed for that.
No.
And now with Webgpu, there are not going to be a revolution in frames per second in performance, in terms of performance, but it's going to be, small a leap for humanity, but a huge leap for perfectionists who really want everything smooth and quick and to be as good as on native platforms. So. But most of people will never realize that.
No, it's the kind of thing you can use all those little improvements and make a big difference if you put enough care into it and have a special use case.
Yeah, on one hand, yes. Satisfaction is definitely going to be higher, but right now I think, I've been iterating this talk about Webgpu a couple of times. And I see the constant improvement in performance. But even with the latest improvements, it's not going to bring anything totally different, totally novel compared to Webgl.
Okay.
It's going to be pretty much except computational shaders, which were not there. And what's now holding the industry from making something like Unreal in browser is financing. The problem is not really the technology. Webgl 2 is amazing. It's very fast. And half a year ago, Webgl 2 was faster than Webgpu. It's now with the latest updates, developments, Webgpu got like 10-20% faster, not more.
Okay.
And this is the win of performance we can expect in 3D graphics and gaming. But problem is it is quite hard to charge people online. And this is why it's easy to, please pay me 100 euros for a game built with Unreal Engine. You download it, you pay. So it's a very
Yeah, we all know about this.
Yes, exactly. And on the web, how do you monetize?
Yeah.
How do you build your payments? So there are so many problems and people don't, it's harder to get traffic to web games. It should be something outstanding. So the monetization is a problem, and money, cash flow is a problem.
Yeah.
It's not the problem of a technology,
No.
which is a bit sad because the technology is great.
Yeah, exactly. We could solve that, but that's problem for another standard or something, I guess.
Yeah.
Changing people's expectations of online. How long has the standard been in development? How supported is it?
The start was, I think, 2016. It started with Google WebGL Next. Then it renamed.
Yeah.
And right now, so it is a very rare case when the biggest company all united to bring the standard together.
Doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen very often. But the reason for that is that this is exactly standard to fill the gap between all these new APIs, because each big vendor now have their own API, DirectX, Vulkan, and Metal, and they need to find a common ground because they can't really pull the rope and do something nice for others at the same time. So this is where the collaboration is happening, and it's great.
So is it widely supported in browsers already, or?
Behind the flag, I think you can get it working even in a normal Chrome. I still use Canary for that. Unfortunately, it's not available without a flag. It's kind of marked as unsafe now, but it's going to change very soon. Sorry, I can't tell the date right now.
No, dates are dangerous anyway. But it's close, so that's for sure.
Yeah, it's close. Everyone can use it in Canary with the flag. Most likely with in a regular Chrome with the flag.
So it's not like the API is going to change all of a sudden.
No, not really. It's evolving. It's evolving.
Okay.
And the language behind it, the shaders language, is also being updated all the time. So this was a very boiling topic.
So there's more good stuff coming as well.
More agreements to come.
So, and you were part of the working group?
Well, the working group is public. I was interested from the beginning, and I was witnessing all the discussions and think tank around.
So what's it like being involved? Is it reading a lot of email and?
Exactly. Unfortunately, I never attended the real world meetings. They all happened between big company employees in US.
Okay.
But reading a lot of emails, sometimes connecting to people and discussing things.
Yeah.
It's how it looks like. But of course, the biggest input the big companies and its employers were making. So they have really the power of changing things.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, it's those companies that it's really important to get agreements as well. If one of them disagrees, you're sort of stuck.
I'm really wondering how they built agenda behind the meetings in terms of all have own agenda and interest, and they're translated to the community. It's very grounded always, so enough foundations for everything. But it's like a very, very polite clashes, like trying to get over, and still they have to make consensus. So it's quite spectacular to see.
It sounds like it's so it's been 6 years in development.
Yeah,
it's not too bad for a big standard between big companies.
No, because the situation with Webgl is it is living for a bit too long. It should be replaced quite some time ago.
Okay.
There are multiple efforts of replacing it with something, and or just adding computational shaders to Webgl, and it all ended up with just. Okay, that's really too wild. We're getting too far with that. There's multiple layers of compatibility. So let's just start from scratch and do it quick because we are already too late. It's just for you to understand the OpenGL, it originates from the end of 80s. Like the whole concept behind OpenGL and the OpenGL 1 is like 1991 or something. And then it is still all based on this concept which were put in 1991, which is it's incredible. We still run super high-tech demos on it and try to connect it to modern graphics APIs.
Time to modernize a bit. Interesting stuff. I was wondering, it's a completely different track. But it said in your summary that you're applying NASA coding guidelines to JavaScript.
Oh, yeah.
What does it mean?
This was a funny branch of my, let's say, researches. I was also always excited of aviation and space industry. Many of us are.
Yes.
And I'm also coming from the aviation family, so I really feel connected to all the things. And aeronautics and space so much inspiring that in the process of thinking I was like, okay, what if we build UIs for aircrafts and space industry with front-end technologies? And I was just thinking about it for quite some time. I had an article about making aircraft instruments dashboards with HTML and CSS and JavaScript, and I had a real flight with HTML instrument.
Wow!
It was fun. It was 2014, I think, and it was very fresh idea by the time. Like you still have jQuery running the most of internet, and we've been flying for 20 minutes just using Air Horizon. Built with JavaScript, and then I'm like, okay, how safe was that? And my finding was that the technology itself is really great and robust, but the problem is the perception of JavaScript developers. By that time, JavaScript developers were considered like something who is doing this landing pages with jQuery, and this is people not to trust. Really. It's like there was a stamp like JavaScript developer. No, I mean it's not a trustworthy person. We should a backend developer please check his code, and then it's this is how it happened. And my idea was just to change the perception. It was. I took the NASA guidelines for the coding and I applied them to JavaScript, like to make people think that the JavaScript could be taken as seriously as C, and we can take our job as seriously as C developers in NASA do. And I think it contributed quite some. I made this talk multiple times, like 12 times maybe.
We'll find the link and put it in as well.
It was a good one. I think it's very both entertaining and very popular, and it actually made a lot of sense by that time. Nowadays I think that this shift shift in the perception of JavaScript developers. I don't think that nowadays, as in the first time I made this talk was 2015 and 2016, and nowadays people just perceive JavaScript as something, wow, this is engineering.
Yeah.
It's not
it's all over the place anyway.
patching things wildly. So I don't think my contribution is big in this shift of perception, but there is some.
Yeah.
That's.
I mean, it's really interesting to think about, because of course the particular language and platform shouldn't matter to which standards you apply to it. I mean,
this is true. The problem was originating from the fact that web development was mostly focused on building static HTML pages, or very, very little layer of JavaScript. Then we've been switching to single page applications, but still there was an idea that we can fix any problem happening on the page just by refreshing. You have a problem, you refresh.
True.
And my point was, okay, you can't really refresh aircraft, or you can't refresh a space probe is going somewhere through the galaxy. It's going to be a really terrible idea of doing a reset. And the challenge was about pioneer probes or challenger probes that are flying for 40, 50 years without any resets or without significant problems with the software. So let's take the guidelines from these guys and try to apply this to JavaScript and perceive us as cool as they are.
And that feels like an area where we still have a lot to like internalize ourselves as web developers. I mean, the concept that we can always refresh, so it's not worth spending all the time to make it not leak memory and stuff like that. I don't feel like we're quite there in terms of like pride of craftsmanship yet.
That's true. The tooling is not totally there, while Google is putting significant amount of effort in making it better, and all the other companies. But I think that front-end development split a bit in two directions. Some people still do just a classic web development, more or less classic web development, and there is numerous web applications that is designed to run for hours, like this UIs for set-top boxes, games, and I don't know else what.
No, that's a good point.
And there are different requirements to this. But the tooling was a good point. The tooling is the same. You use the same tooling for game development, for memory leak management. So the requirements to development environment is the same. And then even the research and some innovation is happening for game developers or operation system developers, say UI for operation systems. And then still the regular web developers can use the tooling, and it empowers everyone.
It was a long time since I did any memory leak checking for my application at work.
What do you use right now? What is the stack? Is it just a single page application with React, or Next?
Pretty much. So the part that I do is it's basically a single page application because we make a scheduling system or a timetabling system. So the part that I do is the client that schedulers use to create all the timetables for a university typically.
Okay.
So I mean, it's very much application feeling, and I mean it does run for a pretty long time as well. So I should have the incentive there to check this a bit more often.
Yeah.
But still, we don't really have the thinking. It's still a pretty feature oriented. Like get this working and.
That's essential for web development. That's true, but
and there should be more we could do with performance. And it's not like performance is unimportant either. I mean, there are some batch operations we do that it's totally okay that it takes 30 seconds or a minute because you're waiting for something useful and important. You get something out of it. But still, if we could make it a lot faster, you could do a lot more of it. You could experiment more or what have you. So.
Well, the performance of a web and in general is now acceptable. It was significantly worse a few years ago mostly on mobiles,
Yeah.
when there were like complete books about how to write applications that doesn't suck on mobile.
Yeah, it was moving variables around in for loops too.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is crazy.
Remember that one? High performance JavaScript. That was a good book. So, I'm just curious. You've been working in React. Are you still working actively in React?
Yes.
Yeah. So how do you feel about React's development in itself?
React development.
I mean, how it's changed over the
the years. I think that, well, in general, I like how React core team approached the changes. So this is the only framework that didn't have a significant problem when pumping up API version.
Yeah, that's true.
Vue was a disaster. I still think that they still working on a migration to Vue 3, and it's still a major problem. And Angular was a complete disaster. Angular is just
famous disaster.
Yeah, it's a famous disaster of open source. How they made it from the number one framework to the last framework on the. It's not the last, but it's the last. This is what's interesting. I organize conferences and I track some trends in terms of data-driven, in terms of numbers. I have a couple of dashboards that measure popularity of different hashtags across different channels, conference channels, and Angular is quite popular. It is just there is no hype. Yes, people mention it when they have problems, and many people work with it. But it's just not a hype anymore. It's a fashion.
Yes,
it's not in fashion.
Yeah, I mean it's the same for me. I don't really hear people talking about Angular, but I bet a lot of people are working with it.
Yeah, exactly. And there are conferences, and they are
and I guess it's still evolving and being updated and stuff like that, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. As Google pays, of course. In general, I think React is doing a really good job of staying on the top of the stack. As we know from the Angular example, it can be a bit challenging, but I'm not sure what's the driver behind the React success. I can imagine that there are many frameworks that would like to challenge this position of React, and some novel approaches to software development. That's good. I'm really happy that we have Svelte, and now the new wave of frameworks like Solid.js, Qwik, Alpine.js. They try to innovate by simplicity, by making web development as simple as possible, which is a logical choice for many applications, which maybe of a smaller scale by design, or just have less resources. But React is still, it is a bit verbose. Let's agree on that. But there are also some improvements. Making functional components as a standard. This is the abstraction you can't really beat in simplicity. This is brilliant. I think what's missing is as brilliant state management, because there is no standard state management right now. This is a problem on one hand, but on other, the innovation in Vue ecosystem, for example, or in Svelte ecosystem, they are limited because of that, because everything is pretty much standardized, all approaches. This is what develops React ecosystem. And this is probably what really make it different from others. So the non-opinionated approach just makes the ecosystem flourishing. I
mean, that's what I liked about React from the beginning as well. It solves this problem, and it doesn't have a strong opinion about what pieces I use outside of that. And of course, when we started, there weren't that many pieces outside of it, like state management. There were some blog posts to read, and then you implemented something that looked kind of sort of like it.
Yeah, but this is why React is now have so many unbeatable propositions like React Native.
Yeah.
Not that much alternative for other frameworks except Flutter, for example. But this comes from a different origin at all. And React 3 Fiber, which is absolutely amazing. Just revolutionize the 3D development, makes it really accessible to many people. This is what I'm busy right now. I'm rewriting a big project from imperative Webgl to React 3 Fiber. Because the company has 500 JavaScript developers, but they're mostly React developers. And if you develop a hardcore WebGL, like lower level imperative style code, is really hard to reuse components. You need to know how the composition and how the framework is built behind the scenes. So you need to have more knowledge of the API of the engine and graphics engine. And this is a problem that React abstraction solves very well. You just compose components. React 3 Fiber is just mind-blowing how the guys did that. So the only way to do this is to be not afraid of efforts, be very enthusiastic, and not afraid to get failed. And this is what other frameworks are trying to deliver people from. The Vero or SolidJS, they say this is the approach. So you are safe. You don't be.
They don't need to think about it.
Exactly. And of course, ecosystem doesn't develop in these circumstances because people get used to feel safe and they don't produce that anything aside. But they're very efficient. That's true. React is now paying a bit of a tax for the ecosystem. And every one of us is probably paying this effort tax to develop the whole ecosystem.
It's really cool to hear about the fiber usage as well, because one of the things that I sort of read a bit about on the side and stuff like, that sounds cool. I wonder what I would use it for, or if I would use it directly or indirectly somewhere. Well, is there anything else exciting happening in React itself coming up, so to speak?
I would say the rise of full stack frameworks is, it's really hard to overestimate. The impact on productivity, this is probably what we've been looking for. So now if you think about modern full stack frameworks as Next.js, or there is a thing called Blitz.js. It's just amazing. I really love it. I do all my side projects with Blitz.js. So this is a Next.js based, but it adds ORM on top and zero API layer. So you are a full stack developer with a couple of commands. Like you have a CLI where you generate model article, generate model user, and it generates your model. It adds it to the database. It creates interface to edit this kind of. It creates a dashboard for this entity, and it creates it's created a dashboard, but then you can copy dashboard and make it a public component. So it really so much quicker to develop with that.
It's sort of a Ruby on Rails approach.
This is very, very Ruby on Rails approach. Yeah, exactly. Or Laravel or this kind of full stack monolithic frameworks. But now they're coming, I think, from a proper side, because the JavaScript is a language where you can develop everything. Like you can develop front end, back end, and this is now really taking the right places in how it should be. So it feels like this is an ultimate solution for a web development. And to me personally, I had tons of side projects before that, and only with this stack I was able to get them to production finally. I'm so productive with the Blitz.js and Next.js that I was able just to take a side project and get it to monetization phase. It never happened. There is no monetization, but I was able to get the idea and really convert it to something working and totally working. Even forget my passport functionality.
Wow!
It comes out of the box in Blitz.js. It's really great.
That's really a big thing to I mean, getting the feeling of actually having shipped something all the way to production, whatever that means in the case, it makes a lot of difference if it's doable.
Let me put it this way, Mr. Raymer.
Tusen tack för att du lyssnar på Kodsnack. Vill du stödja oss? Tipsa en bekant om podden eller lämna en recension i till exempel iTunes. Du kan också köpa prylar med Kodsnacktryck eller stödja oss med en kaffe på coffee.com. Alla länkar och alla avsnitt finns på kodsnack.se.